Going to continue on with the upper limb osteology list. What we're looking at right now is the sacrum and the coccyx. The sacrum we have in anatomical position. This is the anterior in the front, posterior in the back, superior on top. This is the promontory, the most superior feature. And down at the bottom, our most inferior feature, of course, would be the coccyx itself. So looking at the sacrum is composed of 5 fused sacral vertebrae. And on top we have our promontory. We have holes in the front. These are our anterior sacral foramina. Between each one, see this line that goes in the transverse plane? That is called the transverse ridge. As we turn this around and look at the lateral view, you see the auricular surface. The auricular surface is bumpy because it's going to articulate with the os coxae. If we can look over here, this is our sacrum. You do not see the auricular surface because it is articulating with the auricular surface of the os coxae. We'll look at that in a later lecture. Let's go back to the sacrum. We're going to turn this around to the posterior view. On the posterior view, we see holes again. These are the posterior sacral foramina. Foramina is plural for foramen. We have lots of them, so we call them foramina. Individually, the foramen. Down the bottom, what was the remnant of the spinous process is now called the median sacral crest. And I believe that is all we need on the sacrum itself. What we have here at the bottom, this is our coccyx. It's 4 little fused bones, but we see it as one bone called the coccyx. That's all we need on the sacrum and the coccyx. We're going to look at our next bone, which is the sternum. What we're looking at here is the sternum. I'm holding this in anatomical position: superior, inferior, anterior, posterior. The sternum is divided into two sections. We have this top portion called the manubrium. The bottom portion is the body. What separates the manubrium from the body is this line here called the angle of Lewis, or the sternal angle. If you look at it from the side view, you'll notice that it is at a bit of an angle. I'm exaggerating it with my hands, but you can see how it angles down. Let's go back here on the manubrium. We have a couple features you need to know. Right above here, above the sternum, is the suprasternal notch. Supra means above, suprasternal notch. We have two notches on either side of the suprasternal notch called clavicular notches. What fits here, you can imagine, would be the clavicle. So if we continue down, at the very bottom we have a little bone. This is called the xiphoid process. What I have in my hand is the rib. The rib is in anatomical position, posterior, anterior. The very top of the rib here, this is the part that articulates with the body of the vertebrae. This is the head of the rib. There are two flat surfaces. The one in the inferior articulates with the vertebrae at the same level, and the superior one is going to articulate with the rib above it. If you turn this around, what you'll notice is a bump here. This is called the tubercle. The tubercle is what articulates with the transverse process of the vertebrae. Between the head and the tubercle, this region would be called the neck. Okay. Let's turn this back around. We have the head here. The tubercle you can't see because it's on the back side. We have the neck separating the two. We follow the rib around. You notice the bend here. The bend is called the angle. The long straight portion is the shaft. It's the rib. What I'm looking at here is the clavicle. I have put this into anatomical position. The clavicle has a sternal end and a acromial end. The flat end here is the sternal end. This articulates with the suprasternal notch. We're going to bend around the front, and you notice this little S shape toward the end. This is the acromial end. This is very rounded. This is going to fit with the acromion process on the scapula. The way I know I have this in the correct anatomical position is the flat sternal end is going to be in the center. The round acromial end is going to go back to the scapula, and if we turn this upside down, we're going to see a little groove on the underside, and the groove is for the, can you see the groove there? The groove is for the intercostal vein, artery, and nerve. Okay? And that is always on the underside.